You executive produced a show called The Office that aired first in 2005. What led you to start that journey? And did you have any idea how big of a cultural impact it would have when you first started?
I don't know if I thought it would be this successful today, but at the time, I thought it should be as successful as it is today. And I really believed in it uniquely. I thought it was funnier in the underlying material, which I found in the UK and which Ricky Gervais and Stephen Shedd created. It was more poignant than the shows of that moment, which were a really canned laughter, kind of puerile Chuck Lorre sexuality and like, just mediocre to me. They weren't making me laugh. And then boom, this show comes on TV on BBC Two, and I'm watching them and I'm confused by it. And then I'm leaning into it, and then I'm uncovering things, and then I'm really, really laughing. And when we, I found it and then brought it to Greg Daniels to collaborate on with it and adapt it and create his own version. And then, coming up with the idea of Scranton, the way that Slough in the UK version, Scranton kind of looks on, it's not really near any city, but it's close to all cities, and it's not quite a city, but it is a city. One of these kind of places like Slough, which I had been to in London, having lived in London. So I really understood a lot of the cultural specificity and translation around it. And then to kind of amass that murderer's row of talent from, Carell to Krasinski to Craig Robinson to every single player, from deep on the bench to all the way in the front row. Like it's an amazing ensemble. And I really feel lucky that it got rediscovered in the kind of post syndication age, because it didn't do that well in syndication. It almost required this new genre, of comedy that Netflix kind of pushed, which was more informed by The Office than the comedies that had predated it. And I also think that the kind of old haired set of independent, kind of affiliates and broadcast affiliates were just like confused about the show. Like it just didn't kind of connect to them as much. So they didn't really invest in it. It really took cable and streaming to have it hit this younger demo and become so permanently famous. You can get it all in our book. Brian Baumgartner and I wrote a book, which is a fantastic book. It was a New York Times bestseller for 4 weeks. And HarperCollins, like everybody involved in The Office, no one fully believes, ordered 80,000 books, which they thought was a huge printing. All 80,000 books sold out. And so they had no more books. So you can't stay on the bestseller list when you have no books to sell. But the books will be back out now. They're totally available, and you can order anywhere from Amazon. And it's the oral history of The Office. Brian Baumgartner, who played Kevin, a fan favorite from both his Chili and the Scrantonicity. Great drummer, great golfer.
Yeah.
Brian Baumgartner, great talent, great podcaster. We got to connect his podcast to your podcast. And we did the book, and the book really gives you so much detail and insight into the alchemy and luck that made that show.
And I can support that statement. I have the book, and then I also have Somehow I Manage, that Brock got me, the Michael Scott one.
Yeah, it's a hilarious little gag gift kind of, but it was Scranton bestseller, so you got to get it.
Yeah.
I recently just worked on the show called Righteous Gemstones on HBO. Danny McBride, John Goodman.
I know.
They're
so freaking good, brother. It's
man,
so good. He makes me laugh like that. You guys, like, that's one other group of people that actually genuinely are funny.
Oh, they are hilarious, and that's what it is on set too. And it's even cool, the crew he built too over the past 20 years is all friends and people he's worked with, and so there's a real good community there. So it's just jokes all day, and I don't think anyone laughs more than Danny. But to that point too is there's so much improv going on all the time. How much was there, or even what percentage would you say was going on in The Office? And did that change the way that you produced?
What we did is we wrote it all, but then we would give them multiple takes, and we would be like, okay, talk to the camera and say Jan stole my sandwich, and then they do it once, twice, 3 times that way. And then they do 4, 5, or 6 their own way, and so it was really, grounded in them knowing and nailing the line and then doing their version, because you never knew, as Brock, like what you needed to pick up for story later on that maybe an improv would have thrown off versus doing it in a funnier way or a more complete way or a better way. And so many of our team were writers. So they kind of lived it. BJ Novak, who played Ryan, Mindy Kaling, they were writers. Toby, Paul Lieberstein. Like, so there was so much back and forth also that they were able to kind of bring a little extra around that.
That's great. Yeah. I think some of those best moments are improv. And my first introduction into the film industry, being in front of the camera, was Boo! A Medea Halloween with Tyler Perry.
Really?
And that was the nice thing about working with him, though, is my first time doing it. Yeah, it was awesome. Was he said, and I asked him too, and then and it was nice to know, he's just writing the intention on the paper. And as long as you can get the intention across, you can say whatever the heck you want, and it makes it so fun, because when you're around a bunch of comedians and people that are just having fun, it's the whole product is better.
Feel it.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that. And you can tell on The Office, it's like, it's never not good, man. It's never not good. It's so fun.
Yeah, I've never seen like so many people having so much fun in one place. It really looks like everyone is just having a blast on that set and just like really enjoying being at work.
Yeah, chemistry's great.
And you're in character the whole time, right? Like you're in the back of that office. You've got to be doing stuff. You're in shot. Like we have a lot of big shots with a lot of the talent performing it almost like an orchestra, right? Leslie, who plays Stanley's doing something on the computer. Paul Lieberstein's Toby's like looking at a piece of paper, kind of cockeyed, and Pam's drawing a picture. It's got so much layering, like a great painting.
That's interesting too. Just like a brief side note comment on what you said about like Scranton, like not being a big city, but being near several. And like, I feel like can sometimes be the feeling of what it's like to work in an office, right? Like I've never thought about this until you said it, but it's like you're at a big company, but do you matter as much? Like there's a bunch
it's like
of you.
Dead end, right? Like we're in a business that's dying. We're in a town that's dead. Scranton's all alive, but like relative in the consciousness, we're in a, mind killing, workplace. And how do we feel? What's our and then within it you realize, we're a family and we're together, and that's all we need, is finding that. And then you have so much pathos, and it's about love in the simple things and love in the smallest things.
Along the lines of The Office again, Mindy Kaling has become so successful since that show as well. I mean, what signs did she show that, she would bloom into this incredible career also? I mean, it's pretty impressive what she's done.
Well, I mean, I think about all of them, right? I think of Krasinski's fucking Jack Ryan. I'm like, Jesus. It's like, awesome. I did not, I don't think you would have taken him into, that kind of, and let alone the movies he's making with his wife, Emily Blunt, which are just like, and he's directing them, and Mindy's creating sitcoms, and BJ Novak's writing children's books, and you just see so much, and Craig Robinson's everywhere, and you just see, let alone Carell, who has been nominated and won and at Oscars and just makes some of the finest movies around, and clearly has such great taste. So I think it, as I said earlier, it's a murderer's row of talent, both in front of and behind the camera. Our line producer, Kent Zabornak, was brilliant. Like every part of that show, from editor to director to writer to actor to producer, was really built for each other.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.